G'day everyone, so in this video I just want to show you how to change injectors on a 1K ZTE in a Hilux, Prado, Surf, doesn't matter. And then once they're changed over, I'll show you how to prime the fuel filter and bleed your injectors. So this here is the engine bay of my Hilux. Now it is a bit busy because there's an intercooler and a catch can set up that you wouldn't normally see on a factory motor. But just for reference, this is where your fuel filter lives, underneath. It's good practice to change that every 20,000 kilometers. And on here is how you would prime that. That's just going to try remove all the air from the system as best it can. And then once you've changed over your injectors, we'll run the engine and we'll crack each individual fuel line one at a time, let any air out, tighten it back up, and we should be good to go. But for now, I've got a spare motor underneath that towel. And it's going to be a lot easier for me to film and show you how to remove the injectors and then reinstall them. So we'll get stuck into that now. Now we're just looking at the spare motor here, and we've got 4 injectors at the ends of all these fuel lines. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 just hiding under there. Now there's a charge pipe which is missing and the throttle which is missing. Now they can get in the way. I think you could struggle a little bit and work around it. But if it is too much in your way, you will have to remove it to get to them. And it's not too much effort to remove this intake pipe either, so remove that, give yourself some better access, and we'll get stuck into removing the injectors. Now if you follow these fuel lines, you'll notice some clamps. There's one here, and I did remove the oil filter and I just undone this bracket for the wiring harness. And you can see that little stud there. It's got a missing nut and a missing clamp, but that's normally where it would clamp your fuel lines. Just move what you've got to move out of the way. You will have to loosen them. You might not have to remove it, but you will have to loosen it to give yourself some room to wiggle the fuel lines around so that you can get the injectors out of the way. So we'll loosen this one off, loosen the fuel lines, and get these injectors out. Alright, so now we're ready to get these lines off. Now it's really important you do a clean job of this. You really don't want to get any dirt or grit inside of your injectors or your injector lines. So it might be a good idea to clean your engine first, but because this is my spare motor, I'm not too concerned about that. Alright, now our fuel lines are out of the way. We've got to undo these nuts sitting on top. They retain the return line system. So we'll take that off. Okay, now we should be good to pull this piece off. You want to do it gently. It is pretty delicate and important. Just do it evenly and gradually. Okay, now that's kind of out of the way. There are some washers. Now these washers sit underneath that piece we just pulled off and on top of the injector. And it's just got a couple of tiny holes in it which are going to control the fuel flow. So don't lose these, don't damage them. So this here is what the whole injector looks like. Now I've made the mistake of using a 19mm socket instead of a 21mm socket. Now the 19 will fit over this part, and you can actually dismantle half of the injector accidentally, so you want to make sure you get a big enough socket to fit over that nut and get right down to that bottom nut and pull the whole injector out. Okay, so deep down inside these holes, they're pretty hard to see. You wouldn't know about them unless I told you about them. We've got these little washers. Now they sit on the very end in the hole where you pull your injectors out. They're probably going to be stuck in there. If you do get your injectors rebuilt, they might give you new ones. If you do want to use the new ones, make sure you pull the old ones out. Now just for a little bit of further information, these do separate from each other. Now that's not something you should concern yourself with. Normally I just get mine sent off to be rebuilt professionally, but you can pull these apart. So I've got this apart now, and these little small bits are the internals, so I'll just show you how they stack up in case you pull this apart and need to know how to pull it back together. So I've got all these parts here. I'll just put the casings to the side, and so the spring would go first. Put the male end into the spring, and then you've got this needle looking tip, goes through that washer into that little spring seat and then into the spring. So that's how all of that goes together. Spring, spring seat, this little washer, and then this little needle looking thing. Alright, so as I mentioned earlier, this is where you would prime your fuel filter and your fuel system. Now obviously installing your injectors is just the reverse of removal. So once your injectors are back in and everything's buttoned back up, press down on this until it goes firm. To begin with, it'll be easy to press down, and then the more you push it, the harder it'll get until you can't press it no more. So that'll be it. Your fuel filter is primed. Now it's time to bleed your injectors, which is going to require you to run the car and then crack each individual line, let the air out, tighten it back up, and move along all of your injectors one by one. If your car has a little trouble starting at first, that's probably because there's a bit of air in the lines and you've been digging around in the engine, but fucking plain. Now I'm just going to bleed one injector, show you how it's done. It's the same on all four. Your car might have a bit of trouble starting up initially, but once it's running, we can get stuck into bleeding in the injectors. So bleeding your injectors is as simple as that, and once you've bled them all, the car is good to go. So thanks for watching this video. Hope you learned something. Subscribe if you want to see more videos, and yeah, we'll see you on the next one.